quicker we own this, the better we're going to be for it. That in the Western world, the United States of America, we are so driven by comfort and cushion and ease and path of least resistance, and we are miserable for it. So I've come to be a lot more aware of what's going on. So now I got this aspiration. I want to feel the best I possibly can. What do we say, fam? Welcome to Simplexity podcast. We take seemingly complex matters and we make them plain and simple. I'm just omitting the word attempt.
No?
I'm taking it out, Boots. I don't know. I'm feeling confident. Although speaking of the subject matter today that I'm very interested in, I don't know if we are going to bring a lot of clarity to the complexity. I don't know if it's that complex.
Well, we're certainly not going to bring a lot of expertise
Def
to
not. No, we are not. We're just going to bring a little experience and a little inspiration.
it. Here you go.
A little
What
more
more
action.
can you ask for?
That's it. So, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
You're not sick at all, are you? Have you been sick?
I haven't been sick in... Now I'm going to get sick.
Oh, gosh, don't
now,
say it.
That's how it works.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Do the superstitious thing. Cross your fingers.
Yeah, we just got some angry comments. First Halloween. Now we're knocking on wood. What, are you going to rob a bank?
Bet those guys don't even pray.
No, I would say I've been attempting to take my health more seriously these days.
Let's see what you did there.
Yeah.
See a little segue.
Yeah. No, but actually, for anyone who watched our last episode, you know that you were under the weather.
Yes,
You're
I
feeling
was.
better now, which is good.
I am.
But you were coughing a bit
Yeah.
during the episode, and we had to edit because in the wide shot, if you watched on YouTube, if you're listening, I'm sorry. You can always go back and check it out. But Sammy was coughing, and I was very much so recoiling and trying to turn away. Becca and Mike told me after the fact that I was rolling my eyes at you, which I don't remember doing that. But
Did you catch it on camera?
I think a couple of times.
Okay.
But all that to say, I was a little bit worried after that recording session, and so I went and I have a membership at the local gym, and I went to the sauna. Because,
There you go.
Because the sauna has a lot of health benefits, immune boosting capabilities, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going down without a fight.
Amen.
Thanksgiving was right around the corner, and so seemingly it worked. Your attempt to infect me did not work.
Did you by any chance in the process pray that the Lord would protect you? I got a sneaky suspicion you did not.
Going back to, they really don't pray, do they?
You're one of those prayer is a last resort type guy, huh?
Yeah.
Daggone it, dude.
Shoot the flare up as
Little
I'm drowning
prayer.
at sea.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that being said, I tell you what. So let me give the precursor to this conversation. Actually, the precursor to our precursory conversation that's led to this conversation.
Okay.
For our listeners and viewers, I would have you note that I am a terrible, terrible sick.
Yeah.
Meaning when I get sick, I lose all hope of living, all desire to live.
True.
I mean, I just want to say to the ladies out there, you all are so much more resilient and strong and courageous when it comes to
She's
sickness.
getting an ego over there. Hang on.
I mean, I watch Ruth get sick. She doesn't even clutch. She doesn't slow down at all.
Yeah.
She might complain a little more about, hey, I don't feel good. I got a headache. I'm so congested. I feel achy. She keeps on plowing. I've seen Ruth, 23 years of marriage. She has only been in bed due to a sickness maybe 3 times. I'm more apt to say twice.
Oh my gosh.
It's a true story. Me, I stub my toe, I want a narcotic. I mean, I get sick. All I want to do is just stop life.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way.
Are you?
I am.
Oh, good.
Well, like, I mean, so Hannah, she'll get a headache or something like that, and she's like, I'm fine. We're still going over there, or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, whatever the plan was, we stick to it.
Oh, totally.
But if I get a headache, I'm like, everything is canceled.
The whole month. Cancel Christmas.
Yeah. Because then, well, my thing is like, I'll start to justify, like, all right, well, I just got to go to sleep at 6:30 p.m. then.
Yeah.
And then,
Do you go to sleep at 6:30?
6:30?
Listen, I'm saying when I'm sick, like, that's the thought process of,
Sure.
we just got to sleep to get rid of this thing.
That just surfaces the question. Every time I get sick, I go, I'm going to bed early.
Yeah.
And I always go to bed later than I typically do when I'm not sick.
What? Well,
I don't know what it is, whether it's I get caught up in a Netflix series or I just start, but I always wind up being like, man, it is so late.
And then
I'm definitely sick tomorrow.
Because you're thinking about being sick.
Yeah, right.
Then
right.
it's the justification of, well, I've been resting.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So all that being said, you're an awful sick.
I'm an awful sick. So when I get sick, I get really depressed. And then when I get really depressed and melancholy, I start thinking about, I'm going to reorganize my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this will never happen again.
This will never happen again. Yeah. I'm gonna get new kids. I'm gonna get a new house.
Yeah.
No. What I start doing is I start thinking about all the things by way of disciplines that I need to put into place to either mitigate my propensity to be sick or to bolster my health and slow my schedule down so as I can do a little more self-care, yada, 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 all that type of stuff. The older that I get, I will say this, in my maturation, I've come to realize so many of those things are foolish thoughts where I just need to put in sort of elementary disciplines and static disciplines into my lifestyle that I really do see the benefit of, that when I'm well, I tend to neglect. Does that make sense? I just used a lot of words to say a little.
Okay. So
all that said is, I want to be more consistent in my diet. I want to be more consistent in actually periods and seasons of detox, of like where I'm purging from, whether it's bad foods or whether it's from, like in the summertime, I'll eat a lot of seafood or.
Oh, is that bad?
Well, it is when you eat a lot of seafood, you eat a lot of butter with seafood, and then you drink beer with your seafood. You can tend to feel a little disgusting.
Yeah.
If you do it too often. I'm a big seafood eater, so.
Talking like shellfish.
Shellfish, absolutely. Okay. Like crabs and, oysters.
Swamp dogs, as you call them.
Swamp dogs. Yes. All right, we're far away from home.
Yeah, sorry.
Here's what I want. So lately I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of podcast listening, a lot of planning as we head into the new year that is, that I really want to concentrate on a holistic health. Yeah. And I think that in years past, I have given a degree of concentration to my health, my well-being, my temple. But this year, I want to ratchet it up a little bit.
Okay.
And I came to find, due to our precursory conversation, that you and I are sort of walking the same path.
We have been, unbeknownst to each other, running a parallel course. And I think the commonality is, you said you've been listening to podcasts and reading. Huberman.
Andrew.
Huberman. He has a science / kind of health podcast that is very popular.
Yes.
And I know a number of my friends listen to him, including Josh Binder, who was on our podcast.
Yes.
I believe he's a big fan. I actually texted him heading into recording today. I was like, we're going to talk about Huberman. Any pointers? Didn't answer me.
Ooh.
Sorry, Josh.
Oh, Josh.
Time's up, my friend.
Josh.
So I'm about to flail and say nothing helpful. because of you. This is your fault. No.
And I'm just looking up Andrew Huberman. He's an American. American. He's an American neuroscientist. His handsome young man, 48 years old, and he is his podcast. Actually, he studies out at Stanford. Actually, he's a prof at Stanford University in their medical department. And I right now cannot find his podcast, but it is worth. Maybe we can put the link.
It's called Huberman Lab, I believe.
Huberman Lab. You are exactly right.
Yeah, but so he talks about a number of different things. And so you've kind of been listening to the source itself, him.
Yes.
I've been listening to friends of mine who listen to him.
Yes.
And we've come up with these common goals of, increased sauna use, increased cold plunge.
Cold plunges. Let's go.
Yeah. I dabbling in fasting, probably.
That is correct. Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent fasting, certainly. Health, and then the concept of alcohol as well, which I believe was the most recent discussion that we've had.
Because he has a very, very robust podcast, 2 hours in length, actually, on the effects of alcohol, even for those that would drink in moderation. We're not talking about people that are going on benders and, just hammer down, getting after it. We're talking about the casual wine, beer, cocktail drinker.
Yeah.
He does an incredibly robust job at speaking to what alcohol in its poison does to one's body, both congruency of mind, body, and what he calls leaky gut. Mm-hmm. So,
and just for the record, he defined moderation, like what you said, but to get a little bit more specific, as 1 to 2 drinks a night. Now, over the average, so over the course of a week's time, if you have every other day you have a drink and then on the weekends you have a couple more, he would define that as light to moderate.
That is correct. Actually, 7 drinks throughout a week.
Yep.
So no matter how you were to break that up, whether that would be 1 a night or 3 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday, that is the threshold for moderation. Mm-hmm. Once you crest that, now you, according to his scientific study, that would be more heavy. You're a heavy drinker. Which is really good to define those thresholds, because you throw around, hey, I drink in moderation. I talk to people all the time. I'm just a very casual and or social drinker. These are very vague terms, whereas Andrew Huberman speaks to, Dr. Huberman, speaks to the effects that it has on one's body. That actually I would just commend highly anyone that has considered, whether it was to stop drinking, what the effects of drinking are on the body, what are the physiological outworkings of drinking. You just need to listen to him. He does not even preach against drinking. He's just very matter of fact of, this is what happens when you do. And it is so eye-opening. At minimum, it'll stir you to consider, wait a minute, is this something I should give my time and effort to?
Yeah. And, maybe at this point it'd be helpful to offer to the believer listening.
Yes.
We're not getting into a theological discussion
heck no.
of the morality of alcohol. I don't think we know, perhaps we can say as a baseline, we can all agree that drunkenness is a sin.
Absolutely.
But I know that people have varying degrees of conviction as to, what's acceptable, what's okay, what's wise, what's wrong. We're not really weighing into that, are we? We're just kind of...
No, we wouldn't. But I think that can, if you stop there, that could, for all intents and purposes, it could possibly create a little more confusion. So I'll take it a step further and say that really... and I believe that you share this with me. If not, please push back. But when it comes to alcohol and drinking in the life of the believer, I view that truly as a Christian liberty, meaning it's a matter of conscience. I do not believe that there is a biblical binding principle against drinking or not drinking. What I do believe is that Scripture speaks very clear against drunkenness and about what drinking does to one's mental and physical state that we are called to abstain from. However, Scripture is very clear about wine is a mocker. A strong drink creates one to be a brawler. And the negative effects. Nevertheless, it still does not specifically speak to that drinking is a sin. So for us as a church, my father always used to say, 2,000 years ago, Jesus turned water into wine, and the church has been trying to turn it back ever since. I love that line because it's just easier for us to say, oh, it's very black and white. No, you can't do that. Got to be really careful not to overextend the liberty that the Scripture has given us and to call it what it has not. Yeah. So I have many Christian friends that partake of their Christian liberty in moderation. Nevertheless, I have other Christian friends that believe that really, as Paul says, everything is permissible, not all is beneficial. And so they view drinking as not beneficial at all, so they abstain from. I respect that. I myself, I have no, and this is surprising. This is lent to very robust conversations. Me being a guy that experienced freedom from addiction and recovery and all of that. I'll speak to others about, and they'll ask me, or they'll assume, you don't drink, do you? And I'll say, oh my gosh, I drink every opportunity I'm given. Beck, you just missed that. I just said that to see if you were awake. No, I am one that partakes occasionally in moderation. Yep. Why? Because that is not a conviction that I have. And I watch myself very clearly so as not to go down any slippery slope that would lead me into either one, sin, or two, bondage. So that was a lot more than you than you thought we were going to go down.
No, but I think
but
that's...
was I clear there? Beck?
I think it was clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Becca disagrees.
Clearly confusing.
That should be our podcast. Clearly confusing with Sammy and Cam. No, I feel like that's a healthy baseline to set it up as. And now, in the wake of that, how we see a Christian liberty.
Yes.
Okay, well, if you're going to see it as a Christian liberty, let's be clear-eyed about what's going on.
Amen.
So
come on.
Maybe now we can delve into some of the things that stood out to us in listening and researching.
Absolutely. So I think for you and I, our conversation has been oriented around this matter of health and the practice of several things. Or the initiation of a few practices. Those being what you spoke to, the sauna,
Like the sauna, yeah.
the cold plunge, possibly the omission of any alcohol.
Yeah.
Intermittent fasting. Here's the why behind it. Let me just give you my selfish why. There is something about really you being in tune with your body and you getting older, because when you're younger, Boots, I'm just going to tell you right now, you feel invincible, you're strong, you're handsome.
Thank you.
Your head is full of hair. You can pop right up out of bed in the morning and not feel like, oh, just almost threw my back out. What's wrong with my knee? All of that stuff, that's not your problem. As you get older, you get a lot more in tune with the creaks and aches and fatigue within your body, all the more as one's day progresses. Mm-hmm. So I've come to be a lot more aware of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So now I got this aspiration. I want to feel the best I possibly can. Yeah. I don't want to take my temple for granted. Yep. I don't want to just do it because I've always done it. I really want to apply some of these drastic, and they would be dramatic measures, like jumping into 45-degree water, in the morning and sitting there for 5 minutes and you can't feel your feet.
Yeah.
I'm into that now.
Yeah, that excites
I'm
me.
here for it. So I want to try that. Why? Because what it does to one's serotonin level, the endorphins that kick in, the way that it moves your blood through your body, all the benefits. What are the benefits? Beck, give me the benefits to cold plunging.
Okay. Give me one
While
second.
she looks that up,
Yes.
I would 100% agree with that. And though I am still a young man, I would say I have been very convicted over the past couple of years of like, I have taken my health for granted.
Yes.
And, I've started to implement certain things about, cutting out added sugar, trying to eat healthier, drinking water, electrolytes, like all these little things that I'm trying to do more. Josh Binder, he has his own podcast, as you know.
Yes.
When it comes to cold plunging, as Becca, I think she has
I'm
the
ready.
list of benefits. But one of the things before we get into those very practical physiological benefits,
Yes.
I love the way that he framed it in his podcast with Anna.
Oh.
He said, if nothing else, even if these health benefits didn't exist, but they do, and they're documented,
Yes.
think of it like this.
I'm leaned in.
Yeah.
I'm leaned in. Come on, Josh.
Yeah.
Give me
Make it good.
give me a pearl, son.
Well, you need to just listen to what he said. I can't do it justice.
No, stop.
Gotcha. But he said, this moves your window of your ability to do hard things. Because everything that you do in your day,
Yes.
you can kind of order it according to the hardest thing that you do today.
So true.
And how, okay, so the typical person living their life, what's the hardest thing that you're going to do in a day? And so he was like, okay, maybe I log on to my job, or I cook dinner, I do some house chores, I go to the store. Maybe the hardest thing that I do in the day is working up the gumption to go to the gym.
Huh.
So then everything else in your life, and I know that people are going through hard things, that's not to dismiss those,
Absolutely.
but for what he was saying,
Comment thread. is
yeah, here we
getting
go.
full.
Oh gosh.
No,
I just got
but to
canceled.
what he was saying, everything else is ordered according to that. So now going to the gym is the hardest thing you're going to do. And so we have this ability to normalize, and it's like, okay, well, now I can't do it. But if you're starting your day with something very difficult, then those other things are seemingly a lot easier in relation to.
I love
So
it.
if I can start my day with a cold plunge,
Totally.
yeah, I think I can go to the gym. Like, we start to orient things a little bit more clearly instead of having a seemingly easy thing be really difficult in our mind's eye.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that needs to be recognized against the backdrop. Quicker we own this, the better we're going to be for it. That in the Western world, the United States of America, we are so driven by comfort and cushion and ease and path of least resistance, and we are miserable for it. We're not happier.
Yeah.
We're not more disciplined. We're not more accomplished. We're suffering for it. I just actually was on a podcast recently that talked about in Russia. Do you know that they send elementary school students into recess outdoors without a coat in the wintertime?
What?
In the wintertime. Why? So as to boost and bolster their immune system. They put them little kids out there
Jeez.
just running around in Siberia. I don't know where it is. I don't know. But all I know is they make them do hard things. Why? Because it's for their benefit. And I think that we as a culture are conditioned to make them do easy things thinking that it will benefit.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. And so, Josh, I love that mantra.
Yeah.
And that perspective.
Do hard things, because then you can do harder things.
Amen.
You can do even more meaningful things. You can
sit
be
in the cold plunge for 10 minutes.
Yeah, and Huberman will talk
10
about it
minutes.
increases your resistance to stress.
Absolutely.
Becca, those health benefits.
you
What
Back
are
to
the
you.
benefits of cold plunging?
Brought to you by, no, just kidding. Here we go. It decreases inflammation. It offers a rush of endorphins, so it boosts your mood. It improves sleep. It reduces stress. It helps remedy aches and pains. It reduces swelling. It regulates your hormones and it accelerates your metabolism.
See?
That's just half of the list. I mean, it just keeps going on and on.
Does it really?
Yeah, there's 14 on this article, so.
And you've done this.
Yeah. Well, hey, I just ordered mine.
Yeah.
Ordered it yesterday. It comes in tomorrow. I'm going to start putting it on the gram.
But you tried it, you said, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
what was your experience with it?
Oh, well, number one, my friend that initiated it for me, he said, you got to do it. You got to do it in succession, 3 times. That's when you really start to notice what's going on. Nevertheless, the day that I did it, last week, got in and got out, and I felt in the aftermath of, and I mean the half an hour immediately following, and even an hour removed from it, I just felt much more like up, bright, alert. Definitely the endorphin rush, while at the same time just a sense of clarity and overall, just feeling of optimism. 1, because I did a hard thing. 2, because it got my juices flowing.
Yeah.
That I hadn't experienced, like they liken it unto drinking a high caffeinated cup of coffee. Some say the colder the water, the closer you get to having a rush of the likes of cocaine.
Oh, my gosh.
True story. So it's that type. Joe Rogan has to break the ice on his ice bath.
Well, he's
before-
crazy.
He's crazy, but he, again, is an advocate for what it does to you by way of serotonin levels, endorphins.
Yeah. And this is documented stuff, by the way.
Documented.
This isn't just...
So he cold plunges in the morning, and then he saunas in the evening. That's another. Now, why are you into that?
I like this conversation.
Yeah, me too.
Because Hannah's sick of me talking about the sauna at this
Now
point.
we're just talking to everybody.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to find out if our listeners are sick of this conversation. Go ahead and chime in the comments.
Yeah. So I haven't really been sauna bathing in the evening.
Oh.
I typically do it in the morning, which is probably not what you're supposed to do.
Huh.
But I do it for...
Excuse me. Would you mind pulling up the benefits of sauning?
Sure.
Here we go. And then it's like, I have a Josh Binder anecdote.
Are you paying him this episode?
Yeah, he's sponsoring us. Yeah, and Josh was telling me the other day, No, actually, funny story about Josh. I got really interested in sauna bathing, and then I looked up this, do-it-yourself at-home thing, and it was, basically this little box that you can get in, kind of like a tent.
Yes. Zip it up.
And then you have a steamer attached to it. And I was all excited because it was $50 or something.
Yes.
And I sent it to him, and he goes, "It's a scam." And I was like, "Oh man!" But basically, that's because that's not a legit sauna.
Right.
But anyway, I've been doing it because I like the idea of detox, kind of what you were saying earlier. Of sweating stuff out. Becca's going to get into the health benefits, but I know it does a lot of those similar things that cold plunging does. It's certainly good for your cardiovascular system, blood pressure, that kind of stuff, stress. But
You ready?
let's hear the list.
This is from the National Institute of Health. The sauna offers benefits that include detoxification, increased metabolism, weight loss, increased blood circulation, pain reduction, anti-aging, skin rejuvenation, improved cardiovascular function, improved immune function, improved sleep, stress management, and relaxation.
I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah. And immune boost, that was my thought process, honestly, when it comes to you coughing and sneezing on me. I was like,
I'm gonna go purge it out.
Yeah. Hey, let's boost. I mean, you're essentially manufacturing a fever to a degree. So let's boost the internal temperature and sweat this thing out.
Yes.
If anything was there. I know I'm giving you a hard time, but there's a lot of other related health benefits as far as skin health goes and whatnot. So I've been trying it and I've really been enjoying it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'd like to add the cold plunge stuff to that repertoire as well, though.
Totally. Sauning is a little harder to come by. You got to have a gym, which you do. I have a friend that has one, just the sort of kit in their home.
Yeah.
But I want to make that a habit. I want to make that, a daily to do.
Yeah.
But it's just not that easy, and it's a little expensive. But I'm going to do it because where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, what we've established is two things that we're going to bookend our day with. This is our parallel walk.
There we go.
Okay. We're going to do a little cold plunger. We're going to do a little sauning. Then we're going to do a little diet concentration. Let me just tee up some of Huberman's.
I feel like you're my life coach right now.
So Huberman, this is fascinating. I want our listeners to hear this. This is a newfound development that is very contextually centric to our society. Again, a lot of words. Nevertheless, bear with me. So Huberman does this long podcast on the negative effects of alcohol, wherein he pairs other, I don't know if they're neuroscientists or there are other people that weigh in. So he speaks about the effects of alcohol when it comes to our sleep. He speaks to it about when it comes to stress. Speaks to it as it comes to our energy throughout the day, what have you. One of the findings sociologically in and among our culture is that for all people, we were talking about this yesterday. Did you think this was fascinating or not so much?
I did. I leaned in.
Okay. So all of us are born with what's called an inborn temperament. You can, that's your personality type, your proclivities and propensities. Yeah. Your four main temperament types are what are called choleric, melancholy, sanguine, and phlegmatic.
Yep.
Thank you. They all lend themselves to a different personality type, a different expression, diversity between introvert, extrovert.
Which I love this, by the way.
Absolutely. It's very fascinating.
Yeah.
And it's very sort of in tow with sort of enneagrams and, it's why you do you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Your dad was a big proponent of this.
My old man was huge. Nevertheless, not only do you have an inborn temperament, but you also have what is called a learned temperament. So a learned temperament is largely created by the imprints upon your life in adolescence, in your home environment, in your youthful experiences, in trauma that you've undergone, people that you're surrounded with. Those that are diverse from you in their temperament can even have a degree of shaping of your learned temperament, but you'll have an inborn, which is very congruent with you, and then you'll have a learned temperament. What Huberman actually spoke to, it was one of his counterparts, was speaking to is that for the first time in history, our societal context is creating a main vein of learned temperament, and the learned temperament is by and large melancholy. So this is fascinating. So because of our culture and our society, it's creating this proclivity for all of us to think down.
Collectively.
Why? One, pace and rate of living. We're living faster and more furious and frantic than we ever have before. You can, for the average American family that has kids, consider your schedule when it comes to sports. Consider your schedule when it comes to dinner times. Consider your schedule when it comes to picking up and dropping off at school. Considering their wants and this and that and all the. Then pair on top of that your responsibilities, your errands, your upkeep, your demand signal. Then on top of that, you got the financial strain of inflation going through the roof, the dollar growing increasingly less valuable. It takes a lot more to buy a lot less. Yeah. It's crazy. So you got all these pressures just due to the westernized context of living. On top of that, you have these things that are aiding to our mental unhealth. So those things would be, no longer do we eat organic or homegrown foods. We eat processed foods, chemical-ridden foods. We use all of the quick foods, microwavable foods. Well, all of those have a physiological effect on us that actually lend itself to a little bit of depression. Then on top of that, Huberman makes the claim that now we have tried to cope with our proclivity to think down, or as one guy called it, our constant leaning over. Like we're being pressured to just feel a greater weight on us, that we're not nearly as postured upright any longer. We just feel like, geez, life is hard. So now we cope with that by way of alcohol. Well, you take alcohol will always intensify whatever your temperament is. So this is why people that are like cholerics, when they drink, they pop up. Because why? Because in their disposition, they're already up. So they get up, you want to party, let's dance. But if you're a melancholy, it may pop you up, but eventually it'll leave you more down. So it intensifies stress, it intensifies anxiety, and it intensifies depression. The studies are showing that now, in our modern context, when you pair alcohol, that's a poison, and you pair it with processed foods that's causing us to have leaky gut, where toxins are now bleeding into our bloodstream.
Also a poison.
And the pressure of life, you have a terrible cocktail of creating mental illness, of what you see rapidly increasing. Never before in the history of mankind have you heard more people talk about depression, anxiety, worry, and stress like we do right now. And what Huberman would argue is that alcohol is greatly intensifying that, while at the same time processed foods. So all that to say, if you go by way of the dodo bird, meaning if you just stay the course with the cultural common direction, your temple is going to leave you feeling very unhealthy. If you cope with alcohol, even moderately. If you eat quick foods, even casually. If you feel the pressure of life and you're just looking for a little outlet, you're only aiding the unhealth. You're never increasingly or intentionally bettering it. Yeah. And so these measures of whether it's cold plunges or sauna or intermittent fasting or the purging of alcohol, all of that is about really maximizing your temple and feeling your best.
Yeah.
And I digress.
And that's where some of my conviction came in regard particularly to alcohol is, I'm trying to do these things as far as sauna and, I'm against sugar because, that has its own slew of negative effects, including inflammation and stuff like that. I'm against, processed food, but then it's like, okay, well, what about this thing that's a poison?
Right.
And, again, I would commend the listener to listen to that podcast, but just to name a few of the things, you said leaky gut, which is basically just an assault on your body's microbiome. And so your gut health, when you're drinking alcohol, we know what alcohol does when it's on a surface or something like that. It kills bacteria.
Yes.
Well, guess what? You're drinking something that's killing bacteria in your gut, and that's good bacteria, some of which is good bacteria. And so that's affecting a lot of different systems in your body.
Yeah.
What I found interesting, kind of to the point of temperament and coping and stress and stuff like that, is he made the point that as you drink, you're increasing your body's baseline production of cortisol.
Yes.
So the stress hormone, you're increasing that.
Yeah.
So, and so when you're not drinking, even when you're not drinking, if you're a chronic or regular drinker, one drink a day on average,
right,
or several throughout the week, when you're not drinking, your stress baseline is higher than before you started to. And so what you said, people are drinking to cope,
right,
because they're at a higher stress level. And so now I need to unwind after a long day or whatever. And really, you're just making it worse because you're just increasing your stress baseline again. And that happens from the hormonal level, but it also happens on the neurological level of what's happening within your brain. So you're drinking, and then you're getting a quick shot, basically, no pun intended, of serotonin. But then afterwards, you're getting a long, drawn-out decline of some of these other hormones. And so it's a big recipe for a lot of different stuff that it's causing harm in, and it's perpetuating that cycle of stress and coping and hunched overness.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Which at least, I think Huberman has created a lot of conversation at minimum and a lot of introspection as to, wait a minute, what do I think about that? And what are the effects of that? But I really do think that as we near the end of this year and we turn the calendar, I want to see, I really want to grow in my awareness of how I'm feeling, how I'm thinking, and contrast that with these measures to see is there an increase. And I'm excited about it.
yeah.
Yeah, if for nothing else. It's a new season and a new direction of intensity. I love Josh's, hey, let's do hard things. And I think it's inspiring. I don't want to just rest on my laurels and just take for granted, hey, this temple that God has given me, but I really want to calculate more so than I ever have. I can tend to be very cash in my approach, just making sure that I'm doing the fundamentals. I want to intensify that. I want to just see what's the fruit therein and the benefit of.
Yeah. No, I agree. And do the fundamentals and not turn a blind eye to something that's potentially pretty unhelpful to those fundamentals.
Totally.
So,
Totally.
yeah.
Let's go.
I'm excited.
And then we don't do any of it.
Yeah.
We'll start on Monday. How about that?
Say that again.
What does everyone always say? We'll start on Monday.
Yeah, we'll start on Monday. No, what we should do is we're going to revisit this in January. Let's say February-ish. February.
Okay.
A long time from now.
Well, that way, we're planning.
Mm-hmm.
We're giving it a couple months. We're going to get all of our
Ducks in a row.
T's crossed.
Ducks in the sauna.
And then we can speak to, are we still doing it? I'm doing this by way of a little accountability.
Yeah,
It's good for us, Boots.
it is.
So we have an audience to answer to.
Ooh.
Watch us put on like 45 pounds. You look terrible.
I'm bald by the end of this.
Sitting out here drinking.
Yeah. Hey, I
My
tried.
goodness.
Psych. Just joking. Just trying to.
Just keep
I
it
don't know
light.
what I was just trying.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, you know what? Hey, we're going to do it. We'll bring back report.
Yeah, and you do it too. You let us know what you think. But yeah, we appreciate you guys listening to this episode. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on Spotify or Apple.
A lot of
If
people just unsubscribe.
yeah, well, that's you know what? That's because of a little bit of conviction.
That's right.
That's
Ooh,
right. So if you
amen.
unfollow us, that's why. Put a little
You don't want to do
manipulation.
hard things.
Yeah, yeah. No, but seriously, check out Huberman's podcast because he goes very in depth and he's very smart and he knows what he's talking about, and it will challenge your mindset, I
Amen.
think. But with that, we appreciate you guys listening.
Love you guys.